and she will be giving us a very informative session about Agile, and I think it's quite important, so enjoy. Here you go.
Thank you, Atakan. Welcome, everyone. It's a real pleasure for me, and I just realized it's been 10 years since I've been giving my last speech, my last lecture to the students at the university, so this is really very exciting for me to be here. My name is Michalina Smolarkiewicz, and currently I work at the GSK as Agile Facilitator Lead, and today I want to share with you some insight on Agile ways of working. But before we dive into Scrum, Kanban, Scaled Agile framework, I want to share some short story of a change, some short story of my personal life, and how I ended up actually in IT industry, and how I really engaged my life with the Agile ways of working. I was born in mid-80s. It was the time when basically my parents had one job throughout their lifetime. This is how it worked here in Poland. You started working straight after high school or maybe university, and you continue working even in the same company for the next 30, 40 years. Right now, the situation of the market is completely different. You will change your jobs multiple times throughout your lifetime. You will change your career path, maybe even completely change the job type you are doing. And for many of you, the role that you will be playing there on the market is not even designed yet. We can already see that with the entry of the digital technologies and with the entry of machine learning, everything changes in a rapid speed. So most probably, some of you don't even have the roles designed yet at the market. I wanted to share with you the stories of how my life changed and how my career was really changing throughout the years. I was really passionate in biology. This passion started really in high school. I fell in love completely with molecular biology, with genetics, and it led me to the university to graduate from biotechnology. It was absolutely amazing and very exciting times with lots of hours spent in the laboratory, pipeting, making some genetics adjustments to the cells. And it also brought me to graduate from a PhD, to finish my PhD and work as an academic teacher for several years. Then this blue line happened. It was the day my son was born. It was completely life-changing experience. He was born with some health challenges, and I very quickly discovered that I will not be able to pursue academic career anymore. I can't spend 16 hours in the lab. I can't be traveling. I was used to traveling, and it was really heartbreaking for me at that time. I thought my life is over. I thought my career is over, and I thought that nothing good will happen in my life anymore. However, I reminded myself that actually I did some nice faculty on bioinformatics, and it seems completely exciting for me at that time to understand how digital technologies and digital work could be combined with biology. This is how I decided to enter the IT business. This is how I decided to enter digital technology business. I started as a manual tester. At that time, it was a quite low entry point, to be honest, to IT business. I knew some principles of software engineering because I had this faculty in bioinformatics, and I was really, really motivated to learn. So I spent really few years getting as an expert in software testing. I was doing some automation tester. I was doing also some manual testing as well. Then my daughter was born, and again, it was a breaking point. So as you can see the pattern, there's a pattern in having a child in terms of how my career developed. When I came back from my maternity leave, I decided that I want to do something else. I had a great opportunity to work with IKEA family, being a tester, and it was really great agile-driven product. When I came back from maternity leave, I was given an opportunity to become a product owner in a software application that was a digital twin for the aircraft engine. This was really great platform connected with different IoT applications, which was gathering the data from the engines in real time and really processing them to understand how is the health of the engine doing. While I was working as a product owner, I gained really a great experience in agile ways of working. This was absolutely amazing time in terms of the team we had. This was a scaled agile framework with 10, 11 teams working together with lots of dependencies and delivering really with continuous integration, continuous testing implemented at that time. When I got deeper and deeper into this product, I understood that I want to be more involved into processes than to the backlog of requirements. This is how my journey started as a Scrum Master. I completely fell in love in Agile. I thought this is the best way to deliver products to the market. Now, after some years, I understand it has some drawbacks too. And of course, you can't put it blindly to every product you are trying to put on the market. But at that time, I thought, oh my God, Agile is something like a breakthrough in terms of how software should be delivered. So when I seen an advert on LinkedIn, and I really encourage all of you to search in LinkedIn very, very deeply and fearlessly, I've seen an advert on GSK site that they are looking for Agile coach in vaccines R&D tech. They are looking for someone who will lead the team of other Scrum Masters and push the Agile transformation within the organization. This was an R&D department for vaccines. Soon, very soon after I joined, it was merged, remerged, reorganized. This is what happens in big organizations within each 2 years, to a CMC Digital and Tech. And right now I'm working with a group of 7 fantastic senior Agile facilitators who are in my team, and more than 40 Scrum Masters who are working in product teams across the whole CMC. The reason I'm telling you that is you should never give up on your journey in terms of what will happen in your life. The change will come anyway. You are still very young, and you might not even know what you want to do with your life. You might discover that UI is not for you, even software engineering is not for you. You need to be careful not to stuck in the shoes that are not meant for you. Be brave enough, be courageous enough, and take those opportunities with an open mind, because change will happen anyway. Change is inherited in current world. Speaking about the change, this word you will hear it a lot of time during this presentation, because Agile is everything about adapting to change, embracing the change, and being ready and thankful for the things that are happening in terms of the software delivery. Before I start speaking about Agile, I want to give you some context. While I was in high school, I truly hated history lessons. I thought they were boring and useless, to be very honest. As I grow old, I understand how context is important. We can't properly understand what we are doing and properly do it without understanding the context. So in terms of Agile, we can't speak about Agile software delivery method without understanding how it was working before, because Agile came as a revolution to the old ways of working. In 70s, and it's really, I realized it's really like 50 years ago, I haven't realized it's that far. Software method of project delivery was established, and it was called waterfall. It was completely new and revolutionary at that time. You can imagine that in the 70s, there weren't many software applications on the market. The demand was still not very high. However, people already realized that there must be some structured method on how software is delivered to our customers. So they created a very nice model which assumed that there are completely different phases of software delivery. We had requirement capture, we had design, we had implementation, we had verification and maintenance. The main assumption of that model was that each phase is done completely separately by completely separate team, and no changes are really welcomed into the process, because if you can imagine that people were gathering requirements for a year or maybe 3 months, and then someone was implementing, and the customer said to them, well, I actually wanted it a bit different. It caused a real problem. It caused a real cost, and changes were actually forbidden because they needed contract renegotiation. Process was very formal, and usually what happened is that during the testing, so verification, of course, you can't get every requirement correctly, so lots of bugs were discovered during the testing phase. And you can also imagine the situation where you understood that you actually didn't get the requirement correctly, not only implemented it correctly, but even got the requirement from your customer correctly. And after a year or two of development, you just deployed your system. You thought, oh my God, this is the best moment of my life. And your customer told you, this is not what we wanted. This is not what we needed. We will not pay you the money. Or even worse, you are late with your project. You have to pay us a huge fee. I still remember those days. I've worked in one project that was still run in Waterfall. It was a huge banking project at that time. It wasn't fun, to be honest. We were late. Customers were changing their mind because, of course, people change their mind. So this was really a stressful piece. To add something positive on Waterfall, because it is not like it's all bad and you can't use it. It gave a great visibility of the scope and the great control for project managers in understanding where they are with the project. Agile doesn't give you that. So if you have very structured application, you are, for example, rewriting a legacy product, you already know all the features that it needs to have, I would still recommend to go with Waterfall. However, if you are doing something innovative, if you are working closely with your customer, this is why Waterfall is not working. Frustration came very quickly. After already 20 years, people decided that this is not the best way to deliver software to our customers. And the group of people, 70, oh yeah, this is an explosion. After you deliver your product, 2 years later, it has to explode. The revolution came with the 16 people. These were the leaders of software engineering of that times. They've met in Utah. They went skiing. They drank some wine and drink some beer. And they had a great conversation saying, we can't be delivering software like that anymore. Everyone is frustrated. Customers are frustrated because they are not getting what they want. Developers are frustrated because no one values their work. They think that we can't really do software engineering. So they've met and signed something that is right now called a Manifesto of Agile Software Development, when they've put individuals and interactions with people, interactions with customers over the contracts and over the processes and tools. They've put working software over comprehensive documentation. In design phase for Waterfall, you have to write a book of documentation before you even start implementing anything. You have to write down each workflow, each comment. You have to really make sure that everything is covered. They've put working software, so the piece of work that you are really delivering and is satisfying users' need, as a more important. And they also put responding to change. People change their mind, market changes. So we need to be ready, developing a software that in the middle of the process will have to adapt and will have to change. There were some 12 principles. I will not read them through, but the most important part of it is putting customer back into the center. With Waterfall approach, you are very strict with the timelines, so you have to really renegotiate everything over and over again. Here we want to make sure that our customers are sitting down with us on the same table. We are working in the same team, and we are all accountable for the most successful delivery. We want to also apply changes, and we want to constantly learn. Agile is around constant improving the process. So we have an interval of work after which we stop and we think what can be done better. Was it a success? I think so, to be very honest. These are some statistics showing the success rate for Agile versus Waterfall projects. As you can see, well, successful is really triple high. Challenged, meaning, well, we had some challenges with money, scope was creeping, customers were not that happy, is almost equal, and the ratio of failed is also very positive on the side of Agile. What was taken into consideration? If it was on time, on budget, and targets, so the scope, these are the three main project management metrics that every project manager will look for in terms of the delivery. But they also measured on the goal. Was the goal reached? Was the value for the customer reached? And was the customer satisfied? Because what is the gain if you are on time, on budget, and on scope, and at the end your customer tells you, this is not what I wanted, sorry, but we will not be using this app. So customer satisfaction, user satisfaction is really a very important point in terms of delivery. Few words on Scrum. You probably sooner or later will come up working in the Scrum environment. This is now the most widely used framework for software implementation. And it comes down to a thing that is called empirism. This means that we learn by experience. We have to experience something, learn the lesson, and do it better. We need to be transparent with our process, so the whole software delivery process needs to be transparent. We know the backlog, we know the requirements, we know how the process works. We then do the inspection of the process, so we stop for a moment and think, how did we do last time? And we then try to adapt, so introduce the changes. In terms of how the Scrum works, it is the most popular framework in terms of innovative software delivery products. If you have something that you're not really sure how it is supposed to work as an end product, Scrum is there for you. You have a development team, and in the development team you have three roles. One is product owner. This is a person who owns the backlog, who owns the requirements. He is the voice of or she is the voice of the customer. Then you have Scrum Master, so the person who takes care of the process, looks if everything is being implemented as according to Scrum rules, if we have the right events, if we have the right metrics, are we moving on track? And we have development team. The breakthrough in terms of how the development team is organized is we put everyone together in one team. So if you are a designer, if you are a tester, if you are a UX expert, or you are software engineers, ideally you should be all sitting in one team to work towards the common goal. We don't have a separate testing team who waits for developers to finish their work. No, they are working in one group, and they can call out success only when the whole group succeeds. This brings the sense of community, and this really increases the teamwork and the efficiency of the delivery. In terms of the process, it seems very simple, and it is, to be very honest. However, I've seen so many answer patterns that I don't ever will claim that it always works. We have let me find okay. So we have the business stakeholders, being our customers, who we meet very regularly with the product owner and speak about the requirements. They need to understand about technology, but they need to mainly understand the business context. So each time they have a conversation, new feature, new requirement may appear. And the role of the product owner is to define those requirements, write them in a way that they are understandable for software delivery team, so for development team, and make sure they prioritize it correctly. Because otherwise, if you put the requirements on the backlog, this is just a wish list, and you can't deliver everything. So you have to have the mechanism to prioritize the work based on value and based on the customer's expectations. When the backlog is there, the team meets, and I mean the whole team, so product owner, Scrum Master, and the development team meets on one day of the week, and they plan for the next 2 weeks. So we don't have a development cycle of 1 year. We meet for 2 weeks, and again 2 weeks, and again 2 weeks, and plan for the next iteration. This iteration is called sprint, because it's very short. You'll quickly realize that you can't do that much in those 2 weeks. But again, this is iterative. Each time you deliver a piece of working software. Then the team meets daily. Every day they meet for 15 minutes, and they discuss, okay, how we are doing towards the delivery. At the end of the sprint, so at the end of the 2 weeks, they meet with the stakeholders and they show off what they did. And then the customer has the right to say, I like it, cool. I don't like it, you have to rework it. And this is the change in the process we need to embrace. So we don't wait for a year for the full application to be developed, deployed, and shipped. No, each 2 weeks we show some small piece of working software and get the agreement that this is what was expected. And at the end, and this is the event, I think this is the essence of Scrum, is the sprint retrospective. So the team sits down together and brainstorm what was good, what wasn't that great, what we can improve, and come up with the action plan of the changes that needs to be done to the process. So if we discover, for example, that people are not engaging, what can we do to make sure the engagement is there? If we discover that our tool set is not working, what can we do to change it? This is incremental process of getting better and better each 2 weeks and delivering working software to our customers as often as possible. Next piece is around Kanban. It's also very often used Scrum method. It's not a framework per se, it's a method. And it really comes down to few principles. Actually, it was brought to software development pretty late in the process. It was brought to software engineering 2010. And years back, it was used in Toyota company to manage the flow of work in the manufacturing sites. So what they developed, and this was a person, Taiichi Ono, he developed a system of signaling when the work is ready to be started and when the work is ready to be done. It seems completely trivial right now when we realize, okay, I let you know that I started, I let you know that I finished. But at that time, making this visual representation of the work that is in progress actually made Toyota a huge success and pushed them in terms of motor industry really to the highest level. In 2010, David Anderson realized, well, there are some similarities between how the work goes in manufacturing. We have one piece and another piece. Someone has to deliver something to make the work complete. Why don't we use it in software engineering? There are a few principles that go with the Kanban. First of all, and you will see it very often when you start working in the software delivery industry, is the Kanban board. It's very simple. Usually it has 3 states. You have your backlog, so to do, you have in progress, and you have done. And you just put your work items through this Kanban board to make sure everyone understands where are you with your process. You can use Jira, you will use Azure DevOps, many different tools just to track your work. And it fulfills the first principle of Kanban, making your work visible. It may seem, again, trivial right now, but at the times, people were sending emails and calling you that they have a ticket and they just forget about it. So we couldn't really tell where we are with the process. It fulfilled the visibility. Another very important principle of Kanban, and it is very often overlooked, is your work in progress. This is about context switching. We can only switch that many times throughout the hour and throughout the day. So you have to be very careful about how many items are you working at once, because the more you add, the less effective you are getting. And it comes through very high-level requirements to your daily tasks, so make sure you limit your work in progress. Managing the flow of work, making sure all of the policies are explicit, and feedback loops, this is something that has much to do with Scrum also. We want to continuously understand how we are doing, and we want to continuously improve. Evolve experimentally. This is very important. We don't want to do a big bang. Scrum needs a big bang. When you try to implement Scrum, you have to introduce new roles, you have to introduce new events. With Kanban, it is expected that you do it gradually. You come to the process, see, okay, this is how it works in this company, what can I do to make it better? Importantly, flow of work, so tasks going from one state to another, limiting context switching, and really increasing your productivity and process flow each time. I want to say a few words how we do it in GSK, and we do it a bit differently because it's a huge corporate word, and Agile works perfectly in small companies and in small processes because you have your customer sitting next to you, you can be responsive, you can manage your budget in more effective and elastic way. In big companies, you have to do some compromises to meet the vision, to meet the roadmaps, to meet the budget's expectations. For example, in GSK, we are budgeting for 1 year. You can imagine how flexible and agile you can be if you already budgeted everything you will be doing in 1 year. However, we are trying to make this machine working as agile as possible. There is a framework called Scaled Agile Framework, which works pretty well with big companies. I'm working with CNC, Digital and Tech, and we have 450 people, more than 30 products in our portfolio, and we use Scrum, Safe, and Kanban at the same times. These are applications ranging from very simple electronic workbooks. They are not simple in terms of implementation, but in terms of data models and principles, they are pretty simple, to AI-based models, to AI-based solutions like generative AI or digital twins. So the vast majority of the applications has some dependencies on each other, and we have to understand those dependencies. So what we did, we have a requirement of creating 1 year roadmap. Every product needs to understand what they will be doing in 1 year. But then we try to fix the planning period for 3 months and understand what can be delivered within those 3 months, how those dependencies can be managed, and what can be changed. Slowly finishing, I know there has been a lot about change, and I want to tell you what you can change when you will enter the market. Because you might already see that many of those is actually to Scrum Master, project managers, people who are accountable for process. So you might be asking yourself, what is there for me? What I can do as a developer to make the process more agile? There are a few things. First of all, realize that in software development, there are 7 types of wastes. One which really is a pain for me when I think about it is work potentially done and extra features. If you see that 45% of the features delivered by software delivery teams are never used by the customer. So have the courage to ask your stakeholders, ask your product owners, do you really need it? Do you think it's really needed? Is it really making the product better? Because otherwise you will be wasting time deploying and delivering something that no one will ever use. Other thing you can do is about limiting your work in progress. I know it's difficult. In many projects and products you will be working, there will be a constant pressure to do more. We can't do more. Our brain only works on certain capacity, and we need to understand the cost of the context switching. So if you are asked to do 10 things at the same time, ask for priority and limit yourself to 3, maybe 5. We can't be context switching all the time, and especially for developers, software engineers, when you have to go very deeply into a coding space in your brain, this kind of switching between different tasks can be really killing you. Make sure your projects invest in continuous integration and automation. This is something that Agile cannot function properly without automation testing and continuous integration. We want to be sure that the quality is built in, that each 2 weeks we are sure we are delivering right quality software, not something that we'll have to rework 3 weeks later when someone discovers bug. So make sure, and I know it can be very difficult to challenge your stakeholders, to challenge the people who are accountable for that. Keep asking questions, why we are not doing that? It's a very costly thing to ignore. And last but not least, few words about Agile mindset. Agile was born as a software delivery method, and this is it. What we quickly discovered that it can be used or it can be merged with other approaches. You will recognize some parts of Agile thinking in design thinking, So being ready for experimenting, failing fast, learning quickly will be a part of design thinking. DevSecOps. This is also where we are planning, we are checking, we are measuring. Agile is an inherited part of DevSecOps, and there is no true proper Agile without DevSecOps. These two parts are really very important for each other. And third one is lean portfolio management. This is something more for future managers, but without lean portfolio management, where you can really pivot with what you budget, with what you want to achieve, this is really impossible. I wanted to thank you for your attention. I wanted to wish you the great afternoon. Change is before you. You will probably have it more than I had in my life. And embrace it, be happy for it, be open for it in each stage of your life. I can't stay with you longer. If you have any questions or you would just want to reach out, please do it on LinkedIn. Today my niece is celebrating her first birthday and I need to dash to celebrate with my family. Thank you once again, and Atakan, over to you.